Right now, China is spending over $1 trillion rebuilding something that collapsed 5 centuries ago. They call it the Belt and Road Initiative. Most people just call it what it actually is, the New Silk Road. Same route, same purpose, same countries, just concrete and rail instead of camels. The original version connected the entire ancient world for over 1,000 years. And it might also be the reason 50 million people died in Europe. Here's the myth you've definitely heard about how that happened. And it's not quite what it seems. First, understand what the Silk Road actually was, because road undersells it completely. It wasn't one path. It was a 4,000-mile web of routes stretching from Xi'an in China to the Mediterranean, crossing deserts, mountain passes, and some of the most hostile terrain on the planet. Silk moved west, wool, gold, and horses moved east, and merchants rarely traveled the whole thing themselves. Most handed goods off in relay, city to city, so a single silk robe might pass through a dozen different traders before reaching Rome. Traveling it alone was a death sentence. Bandits controlled the empty stretches between oasis towns, so merchants moved in caravans, sometimes hundreds of camels deep, purely for safety and numbers. Picture being one trader in that caravan, water rationed, sun cracking your lips, watching the horizon for dust clouds that might just be wind or might be riders closing in with weapons. You don't travel this route for adventure. You travel it because the money on the other end is worth the odds of not making it. The route hit its peak under the Mongols in the 13th and 14th centuries. Here's the part that should surprise you. The same empire that terrified half the known world through conquest also made the Silk Road safer than it had ever been. Under Mongol control, a merchant could cross the entire route with something close to legal protection. Historians call it the Pax Mongolica. This is exactly when Marco Polo made his famous journey to the court of Kublai Khan. Except, and this is worth pausing on, some historians aren't even convinced Marco Polo actually went. His account contains no mention of the Great Wall, chopsticks, or foot binding, details that seem impossible to miss if you genuinely lived in China for 17 years like he claimed. The leading theory isn't that he invented the whole thing, it's that he likely made it partway to Persia or Central Asia and stitched together second-hand merchant accounts for the rest. We still don't fully know. The most famous travel story in medieval history might be part real journey, part really good second-hand reporting. Now here's the myth that actually matters, because it's the one still repeated in documentaries and textbooks today. You've probably heard that in 1346, Mongol forces besieging the city of Caffa catapulted plague-infected corpses over the walls, deliberately infecting the population, the first recorded act of biological warfare, and that fleeing survivors carried the plague by ship straight into Europe, kicking off the Black Death. It's a great story. Modern historians increasingly think it's mostly fiction. The entire claim traces back to one account written by a notary named Gabriele de Mussi, who, according to records from his own hometown, wasn't anywhere near Caffa during the siege. He was writing from Italy, secondhand, possibly compiling rumors into a narrative. And medically, the theory has a problem. Plague spreads primarily through fleas and rodents, not through exposure to already dead, decomposing bodies. The catapulting may have happened. Sieges were brutal, and hurling corpses to spread terror wasn't unheard of. But the specific claim that this single act triggered a continent-wide pandemic is likely an oversimplified, second-hand story that stuck because it's more dramatic than the truth. The real spread was almost certainly quieter and far less cinematic. Infected fleas, riding on rats, moving steadily along the same trade routes that made the Silk Road so valuable in the first place. Not one dramatic catapult. Thousands of ordinary caravans carrying goods and, unknowingly, disease, one stop at a time. Either way, the plague reached Europe by 1347 and killed an estimated 50 million people. The deadliest pandemic in recorded history, moving along the exact same network that had spent 1,000 years connecting the world for profit. So the Silk Road wasn't just silk, spices, and Marco Polo's questionable memoir. it was also gunpowder technology heading west, papermaking heading further west, and eventually, a pandemic that reshaped the population of an entire continent. Everything moves along a trade route, not just the goods you wanted. By 1453, the route that had connected east and west for centuries got cut off entirely when the Ottoman Empire captured Constantinople and closed the overland path to European traders. That single closure is a big part of why European powers started looking for sea routes to Asia instead, which is the exact chain of events that eventually put Portuguese ships off the African coast and a few decades later, Columbus in the Atlantic, looking for a way around a wall the Ottomans had just built. The road that connected the ancient world accidentally kicked off the age that replaced it. And now it's back. China's Belt and Road Initiative has poured over $1 trillion into ports, railways, and highways across more than 140 countries, explicitly branded as a revival of the same route Marco Polo may or may not have actually walked. Same map. Same countries. Same core idea. Whoever controls the trade route controls the flow of the world's money. So here's the full picture. A 4,000-mile network that armed merchants against bandits safely carried a possibly embellished Venetian storyteller to a Mongol court, likely spread the deadliest pandemic in human history through nothing more dramatic than fleas on rats, and got shut down by one empire's conquest, only to inspire the largest infrastructure project on Earth, right now, under a different flag. If you were in that caravan, water running low, watching dust rise on the horizon, would you keep pushing for the next oasis or turn back while you still had the water to make it? Tell me below. I read every one. That's Chronolands. History never really left. I'll see you in the next one.